Okay, good to go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Metro Outer Development Assessment Panel for Tuesday, the 29th of July. My name is Karen Hyde. I'm the presiding member and declare the meeting open at 9:32 a.m. In doing so, I'd like to acknowledge we are hosting this meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as traditional custodians of Western Australia, pay respects to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. The meeting will be run in accordance with the MODAP Standing Orders 2024 under the Planning and Development Assessment Panel's Regulations 2011. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of those regulations. Members are reminded to announce their name and title prior to speaking. Panel members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. I'll introduce the panel members for today. As I've said, my name is Karen Hyde. I'm the presiding member. To my left, Clayton Hyam, Deputy Presiding Member. Further to my left, Heidi Hergert, Specialist Member. And online, we welcome Councillor Matthew Rouse and Councillor Barry Winmar, our local government DAP members from the City of Kwinana. Item 2 on our agenda, we have no apologies. Item 3, we have no members on leave of absence. Item 4, noting of minutes. Previous meeting minutes are available on the DAP website. We now move to Part B of our agenda for the City of Kwinana. First, I would like to confirm that all panel members have duly considered all of the documentation contained within Part B of the agenda and Part B related information with a show of hands, please. Thank you very much. Due consideration has been given by all. I've not received any declarations of interest at this point. Did any panel members have any declarations that they wish to make?
No, thank you. This has not come before council, so all good.
Very good. Thank you for that confirmation. We will then move ahead to the item and presentation associated with it. We are dealing today with lot 219, number 676 Albina Avenue, Ankertel for car wash and liquor store. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. I've not granted any extension, but after you've drawn our attention to the key points, I'll let you know if you're running close to time. Then I will open for questions from the panel. So we have a presentation from Ryan Suera Janganbara from Developed Property, and I'll tell you when you're close to time. Ready when you are.
Okay, thank you. Whilst I'm here, I'll just quickly introduce you to the rest of the team as well. We have Chris Berry from Enterprise, the landowner present, as well as we have Tracy Michaels from TMC Designs, who was the designer for the car wash, and we have Paul Nugent as well, who's just joined us very quickly from Shawmac as well. So if you have any technical questions, you'll.
Okay.
That beyond me, basically, as a planner.
Yep, sure. Have you got Gabriel Cipriano with you as well?
Yes.
Yes, welcome. Okay, so they're all available for questions. Thank you, Ryan. Okay.
Thank you. So before I get on to this, I just want to say thank you as well to the City of Kwinana for all your, for their planning team, for all their assistance. They're really great to work with in terms of the pre-lottery meetings, just also helping facilitate this development process. With that in mind, just having issues. How do we go to the next one?
There's just a bit of a time delay between.
Okay, cool. No worries then. So I'll just get straight into it. Okay, so the question, generally quite happy with the overall recommendation, obviously, but the only two key concerns we have with the recommendation in the officer's conditions is conditions 5 and 6 regarding the retention of the tree, and then that will show you on the site in a minute, and condition 6, which is requesting the amendment, lodgement of building permits after the fact to reflect the changes in potential of the tree. So, so just to give a bit of context of the site, we acknowledge that this is a landmark site under the city's local development plan and strategy. Structure plan over this particular area. It's got 3 road frontages with access limited to, with access limited to a reciprocal right-of-way access here with car parking bays here, as shown, reflecting the local development plan and all that jazz. Now, the way that we designed this site, with all the requirements of the city and the limitations there are of this particular site, is that we propose to have the liquor store in the bottom corner here, addressing Collison Street, the Collison Street roundabout corner, with the car park central here, 3 manual bays, an automatic wash bay, and then 4 vacuum bays and a dog wash car park bay area at the top there. We do have the Albino Estate sign that we are going to also be relocating from this section here in green to just a little bit further east, and intending to take it down and reinstate that sign, just so that's in a bit of a better position. And just that particular sign has been fundamental in terms, I'm sorry, this is a bit slow, but has been fundamental in terms of the how we have tried to ensure that we've got that landmark. I'm just keep going. Has been fundamental in design in terms of just the color palette and things like that. So that's just to give a little bit of context. Now, in terms of what condition 5 is asking for, it's asking for the retention of this particular tree here, a 12 meters tall with a canopy width of about 12 meters, eucalyptus tree. It's been marked on the LDP as a tree to be retained. Unfortunately, the LDP doesn't actually reflect the true location of this particular tree. If we were to look at properly retaining this tree in short of having an arborist report, and just using the ARCOS as a bit of a guide, we need to have a deep soil area of at least 64 square meters and a dimension of 6 meters in either direction. What we have at the moment is we've got proposed a retaining wall that runs along here, as well as vacuum bays 1 and 2. So from our perspective, we've had a look at the city's request to actually see if we couldn't try to retain the tree within the design, but unfortunately, because of several factors, it's just not really possible at this moment. If we look at the APZ requirements here, we need to have at least a radius of 10.8 meters to protect said tree. And also, if we look at this particular point here, it measures to be about 29.93 meters AHD. So the actual level, so the site actually rises in this particular section of the site up towards Anketel Road with a rise of about 1.2 meters. Because we're proposing to have access ways and car parking in, basically in this area, we need to sort of have that site leveled in order to be compliant with Australian standards. So at the moment, our plans, if we were to move the vacuum bays, is just to show the retaining walls in this particular location with that 1 meter or so rise. In terms of the swept paths that were done by Shawmax, so we've got a couple here. At the moment, the way the site has been designed is to allow for delivery trucks to come through here, make off their deliveries, and then circle through Manual Bay 2 and come out through this site here. So being able to move the vacuum bays further south, even just a meter or so, is just not physically possible because it would interfere with the swept paths proposed here. We've also shown another swept path diagram here for a cleanway truck to be allow for on-site collection for the bin collection point here, as well as further down here. And again, as you can see, it's just a little bit too tight for us to even contemplate moving this further south. Now, if we look at the previous approval that was done over this particular site for a drive-through liquor store and a cafe, the tree is noted here on the plans, but it's actually not accurate. It's actually further south. So where the proponent in the previous approval didn't have conditions 5 or 6 of that nature at all, they had actually proposed to have a retaining wall and car parking bay, Had that approval been enacted upon, it would have gone straight through the trunk of that tree. So the tree would have ultimately had to have been removed in any other case. So as much as we would love to try and retain the tree, and we have investigated that particular option, unfortunately, it's just not physically possible without compromising the functionality and traffic flow of the site.
Okay, you're over your time, Ryan, so if you could draw to a conclusion, thank you.
Yeah, and this is it. So basically, simple conclusion was to request conditions 5 and 6 be removed. I was going to touch base on the advice note, but that's not as important. So.
All right, thank you for that. I'll refer to panel members now if they have questions of Ryan or other members of the team. First of all, members on screen. Councillor Winmar, did you have questions of the presenter or their team?
Yeah, one of the main concerns was around the elevation of the 1.2 drop and the radius of the route so that which the tree will reach. The topography of the land to the north of the tree, the contours of the footpath and the road were in line with the topography of that landscape. There will be some major works that need to be done because the drop will be more than, in fact, 1.2 metres as stated by the proponent. And that is a significant tree in the area. And in respecting to protecting the tree canopy, we, as most of you would be aware, is the main area for the black cockatoo population, which is one of their areas in which they gather and in that place. So it is a significant tree. It was part.
Did you? Sorry, Councillor Winmar, to interrupt you. I'm just wondering, what's the question that who would you like to answer your question? Do you want to confirm that?
So I would like to ask the proponent if there's an alternative to not having the 4 bays, but to have the 2 bays instead. Would that still interrupt their traffic flow?
Thank you.
I guess it would impact the serviceability of the property for the land use around there, the amount of people that will be sort of coming through there. It would limit the effectiveness of what we're trying to deliver for the local residents in terms of availability to the car bays, to the vacuums.
If I may just jump in there as well. One of the things that we forgot to mention is that we are willing to replace that tree with 2 more mature trees of a similar ilk. Just something that just put it in, I guess, in a more ideal location that just shows the longevity of that tree or longevity of the vegetation that the city would like to see grow within that vicinity. If that makes sense.
Thank you. Did that answer your question, Councillor Winmar? Did you have other questions at this point?
Nothing further at this stage.
All right, thank you. Councillor Rouse, did you have questions of the presenter?
Yes, please. In the swept path analysis, you referred to a cleanaway truck. I presume that there wouldn't be a huge amount of waste generated from this site. So would a cleanaway truck be appropriate in this instance, or would a smaller, more private waste truck be used, and therefore wouldn't need such a wide turning path?
That might be for the traffic engineer, is it? Are they online? Is that Paul online?
Hi there. Yes, I'm here. Yeah, we made an assumption on the truck size is the fairly typical size for a commercial development. So that's probably something that we'd have to confirm, perhaps with the waste consultant, on what size truck would be used to service this site.
So a smaller truck would be able to turn in that area then, yes?
Potentially. We'd have to run the swept path to check that.
Okay, and also notice in the swept path that you've got provisions there for the truck, if it is that large, to a reverse. So why would it necessarily need to be relocated those bays if the truck could reverse?
We tested a couple of different options just to provide flexibility. Ideally, you'd want trucks to enter and exit in a forward direction. So we provided all the different options to show that flexibility depending on what was accepted.
Okay, and what happens if that middle wash bay is being utilised? Would the truck just have to sit there idling until that bay is free?
I guess there's a couple of options. They could do the reversing in option from the right of way, or yeah, as you've said, they could wait until it was clear.
Okay, and I see the location of the bin store. So how would that be collected from the truck? Would that bin have to be wheeled out into the centre of the area there, or was the truck would collect that bin from that area, then reverse back out and then go forward?
Yeah, that would depend on the waste management procedure. If it's a private collection, typically they'll have the driver ferry the bin to the truck and then back.
Yeah, with the Cleanway truck, we just looked at two different options. One being having waste collection on site, and then also alternatively having the standard curbside collection with the council. But I guess it wasn't so much the Cleanway truck that we were concerned with. It was more the fact that just the delivery trucks themselves were the ones that would present the more relevant issue with us in terms of those turning circles. Because if it was just a Cleanway truck, then it just doesn't, the issue doesn't become an issue for us. We can just amend the plans accordingly. But unfortunately, it comes down to those delivery trucks more so than anything, just making sure that in terms of servicing the liquor store, more so than the actual the car wash, because the car wash doesn't actually need that much in terms of service delivery. It's the liquor store that needs a frequent number of deliveries, every so often. So, at least once or twice a week. So it was just making sure that the standard MRV truck that would not be used to deliver these vehicles was just accounted for. And that's, I showed the two sweat paths in the presentation just to give it a bit more, provided, a little bit more context as to one of the reasons why we found it a little difficult to be able to accommodate the tree within the design. If it was possible, we would definitely have done so much earlier in the piece.
Yeah, thank you for that. And also, if the tree was to be removed, obviously that's a significant area there that would have to be levelled out, which also includes the footpath, and so there'd be a whole rearranging of that footpath area and that verge area. So has that been looked into?
So we'll be utilising the retaining wall still there. So all that existing level, if you look at the drawings, we've got a retaining wall where that tree is, and that's the main issue. Obviously, part of the issue with the tree, with that retaining wall is so that retaining wall essentially will manage that height, so the rest of the height can stay the same.
You have further questions, Councillor Rouse?
So, sorry, you said existing retaining wall, or you mean the retaining wall that you will be constructing?
Correct, the one that we'll be constructing, yes.
Yeah, thank you. That's enough.
Thank you very much. Panel members in the room. Member Hyam.
Is it the car bay 3, sorry, vacuum bay 3 is within the root zone of the tree, is that correct?
Just double check to be honest, but
Well, it's 1 and 2, and is 3 within that?
quickly, in lieu of having the plans in front of me,
In your presentation.
so in terms of so yes, it would. If we were to show a 3 metre radius on all of around this particular circumference of the tree, just as a very loose indicator without actually having an arborist going on site to actually find out exactly the length and width of those and location of those roots, a safe assumption would be that vacuum bays 1, 2, and 3 would be consumed within that deep soil rootable zone area.
And even if the mistaken location of the tree was there, it would still affect
When we did, because we had our surveyors go on site to actually do the feature survey, so they make sure that the tree is located where it should be located. So it's only in the LDP and in the previous approvals in which it wasn't accurately reflected. If you look at the previous approval, the size of the tree was actually
I get that.
So, in real, like I said, in lieu of actually having a proper arborist report, it'd be more likely that the safe assumption would be that bays 1, 2, and 3 would have been consumed by that. Would basically.
Sorry, just Tracy is keen to respond. She has a hand up on screen. Tracy Michaels from TMC Design. I don't know if that would assist you.
I've got a question about the design
Okay.
coming up.
All right. We'll come to you in a minute, Tracy.
So given that we know where the tree is, or you knew where the tree was from your survey, and knowing that the tree was to be retained, why wasn't it designed around the tree?
I think
So if we get Trace to jump in, Trace being the designer,
Okay.
we can.
Can I talk? Yep.
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you. I did look at the location of the tree. I looked at the site levels around that area, and I looked at what had previously been approved. And I quickly worked out what previously had been approved would never have been able to keep the tree in any case. So I deemed that because it couldn't be kept anyway, it was accepted by council, so therefore it was okay to be removed. I did look at various layouts for the site, and the layout that we have come out with is the best layout that suits all of the planning requirements. It gives a lovely landscape external of the site on all 3 sides, and we have can put trees up in that corner, and if a different species of tree is preferred, I'm 100% happy to put a different species of tree that may suit particular flora or fauna, if that is relevant. My background, besides from being a building designer, is engineering as well. So I've looked, when I designed this site, at a number of different aspects, being like civil with the levels, tree, traffic, architecture, planning requirements, and engineering. And I have, in my opinion, designed the site to minimise impacts to the existing site levels, keeping in mind up where that tree is at the moment. I think that with the subdivision having gone in, there is the amount of dirt that has been removed from that zone to create the roadway around, like the laneway around there. And you can see that by the drop off in contours quite steeply once you get about 4 or so metres away from that tree. And because of the lower roadway that we have to come in off and the higher tree area of what was the natural surface, regardless of whatever development was put in there, unless there was a substantial part of the land that was deemed not suitable for use because of the protection of the tree, some works in that area would impact on the tree in any case. So it would deem quite a bit of the site not able to be built on because of matching in with levels of that roadway and the existing surface levels that were there prior to any development in this whole area. So when you do look at that particular tree, you can actually see it slanting in the direction of the side that has been cut out as well. And when you consider how trees grow, which normally they grow either towards sun or they can be affected by wind. And given the fact that these works and that would have been in recent times, the fact that the tree hasn't corrected itself to be growing in a more straight direction potentially leads itself to the fact that it is actually becoming unstable because of the earthworks that have already been happened because of the subdivision going in. So,
Tracy, did you have an arborist report? Are you a qualified landscape architect or arborist?
No, I'm not an arborist. I've been working, doing landscaping plans for over 20 years. So I do know a bit about them. I obviously know about them from an engineering point of view, from a structural root zone and a tree protection zone. And if that tree was to stay, we would all of those vacuums bays wouldn't be able to stay because of the amount of the vertical height difference from the roadway and also the tree location. It would mean that a lot of work in that zone wouldn't be able to take place because you would be removing parts of the natural or the now land to be able to form the driveway, the general driveway levels.
All right, thank you for that answer. Back to you, Member Hyam.
Just a follow-up question then. You stated earlier in your response then that you deemed that the council was supportive of the removal of the tree. On what basis did you conclude that?
I concluded that based on the plans that I have seen for the site and the fact of where the tree position was, even where it was shown slightly incorrect, the fact that there is a retaining wall shown, the fact of what the existing surface levels are and the proposed surface levels. So we've got tree shown slightly in the wrong location. We've got retaining wall, which by putting that retaining wall in so close to the tree is already going to be taking away more of the structural root zone of that tree than what you're allowed to do. And the site levels of what's previously approved and what we have is very similar. So because of the retaining walls and the amount of site cut and the location of the tree was never going to be able to be kept.
But the council didn't tell you that it was
Council,
shown.
yeah, you're right. The council hasn't told me that, but when council has stamped a set of plans that have those design features on it approved, to me that means that council has approved it. And it might be a fact that council didn't realise at the time what they were approving because it wasn't explicitly said. And I have made sure I'm quite reputable in what I do. I've made sure that I have given all of that information so that you guys can make an informed decision.
Okay.
But
all right, thank you, Tracy.
Thank
you. Further questions, Member Hyam? No? Member Herget, questions.
I've got a number of questions for the traffic consultant and the designer.
So, Paul?
Yep.
Hi, Paul. Just one in relation to the analysis. Did you do a queuing analysis for the automatic wash bays?
I'll just have to check because I need to refresh myself on this. I didn't do the original report.
To look at the worst case scenario, say Saturday afternoon or whatever time period you've identified in your report.
Yeah, so our trip generation assumptions were based on surveys at similar existing car washes. We used kind of typical service times, turnover times to come up with the trip generation. In terms of queuing analysis, there wasn't a specific analysis to estimate the queue lengths. It was based on the turnover times and the likely patronage. We didn't think it was a significant risk of queuing.
Okay, so in the undertaking of these particular surveys, did you observe queuing, or what was a typical turnover? I mean, how long would it typically take? It's not a McDonald's drive-through, for example, or a petrol station. It could be 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I just want to get a general idea. And I guess I'm referring more to auto bays rather than the actual self-wash bays.
Yeah, so the survey we were given profile of an existing operating car wash and automatic car wash. So it gave the auto washes, they're on a set time. So they're a 6-minute wash, I believe, for the auto bays. So that's what we based on it. So we actually worked out the kind of the maximum serviceability. So if it's 6 minutes for each wash, there's a limited amount that they can service in an hour. So that's why we worked out traffic generation on. the reality is if you know a queue starts to form and people are waiting, you probably would decide to go and come back at another time. You wouldn't necessarily sit there for a long time.
Okay, because
Typically with these ones, because there are 2 automatic wash bays and you've got a 6-minute wash time, you can essentially wash a car in 3 minutes. And with the way I've designed the site, you can queue about 6 or 7 vehicles in the queuing area for the automatic wash bay without impacting on any of the other part of the site. When you look at the general area, even on a busy Saturday morning, you will get a queue, but you're not going to be queuing out of the street. And Paul's 100% correct that if there is a big queue, people tend to use a car wash as something where they're doing on a trip to shopping or dropping the kids off or going somewhere else. They don't tend to just get on the road and go to wash their car. They've got great visibility all around the site, and if they deem that the site's too busy, they can just turn around the roundabout and go back out to whatever they were doing and come back later.
Further to that as well, the wash bay 3 has been designed in a way that if, as the area has growth, we can turn that into a automatic wash bay. Obviously, we need to go through further approvals for that, but it has been designed so that way as growth happens, we have the ability to add a 3rd auto wash bay if queuing is becoming an issue. So we have forward planned for the area.
can I carry on?
Please do.
Okay. My concern isn't the quantum of traffic external to the site, whether it's passing trade or not. It's not a huge generator, not a giant concern. The road network is clearly able to accommodate any increases of traffic associated with the 2 elements proposed for the site. My concern about the queuing is how it potentially, because of the constraints of access to the site, which are to and from the west, my concern is if the queuing, even if it's contained within the site, which is great, how it potentially might interfere with service delivery and rubbish collection movements for the liquor store. Which brings me to my next point. There's a number of sweat paths that have been appended to the transport assessment. I'm satisfied with the one, I'm satisfied with the sweat paths associated with the car wash element of it. They're coming in and out of the northern crossover in a reversing maneuver, because Showmax done a couple of options in that regard. My concern is the sweat path analysis entering through the southern crossover, just to the west of the liquor store tenancy. And then what are they doing? They're coming in, they're turning right. That's fine. It's contained within the sweat path. Within the design of the driveway. Then they're pulling a left and going through the central, I believe it's self-wash bay, and then turning left and then backing to the bin store for the car wash business. That's fine. And then turning into the road network. A couple of questions. How are the bins being collected on the site for the liquor store? It doesn't appear there any reversing. Now, I know that the line marking on the drawing is shows it going from left to right, but that's more indicative of wayfinding into and out of, into the auto wash bays. I understand that. But the bin store is located on the southern edge of that particular aisle. How are the rubbish trucks collecting? I don't see it feasible that the bins stored in that bin store are going to be pushed out to the point where the sweat path is shown for either the 10 meter or the 8.8 meter truck. Has there been a sweat path done where they're reversing in from the laneway and pulling from west to east line haul on a reversing maneuver, collecting the bins and then driving straight out without having to go through the wash bay? Because my other concern is not just the actual horizontal footprint of them going through the wash bay and potentially what the issue might be if there's someone using it is vertical clearance. That's a design issue clearly. Typical vertical clearance for a rubbish truck is 4.3 maximum. I mean, it could be, you could use a smaller profile truck. It's entirely up to the arrangement between the owner and the operator. Has there been a sweat path done showing trucks reversing into that southern driveway to service the liquor store, not just collecting bins, but also for your conventional service and delivery movements like delivering stock and stationery and other things that relate to running a business? It doesn't seem to be a service bay in this design at all, because it would be, it looks like they'd have to deliver it in the one, opposite to the one-way arrow shown on this particular plan.
I've looked into the rubbish collection of this site as part of the design that I had done, and I had talks with the bottle shop tenant, and they've advised me that the bins that they normally had would be typical wheelie bins that can be rolled out. Now, whether it ends up being a curbside collection or whether the rubbish truck needs to come onto site, the bins can be wheeled out. And the pallets that they have for the deliveries and that they get recollected, so they get recycled. When one truck comes for a delivery, they take the used pallet or the empty pallets away. Now, the rubbish truck, I have actually sourced a local supplier that has got a smaller rubbish truck. We don't need a large rubbish collection facility. We won't be having big skip bins on this site whatsoever. The generation of rubbish from the car wash is very minimal, and most of that will typically come from the vacuum bays. It's not from the car wash themselves. The rubbish from the used chemical drums, they get recycled as well. So they get picked up and taken off the site, not by the general rubbish person. And rubbish collection will typically be by a private contractor, and the hours that they normally collect in are early in morning. So that's when the car wash typically isn't busy, early morning, weekdays. So the chances of the truck itself being obstructing drivers or in wash bays where people already are there. This is pretty common for car washes all around the country. I've designed over 300 of them over the last 20 years. So what we actually have on this side as far as queuing, bin size area, collection, and that is actually quite generous compared to even some sites that I've had to design a lot tighter in Metro Melbourne and
All
Sydney.
right, Tracy, thank you. I think actually the question was addressed to Paul.
Yeah. And thank you for that, but that doesn't answer either the questions that I've posed that do not relate to the car wash whatsoever. That's one element proposed to the site. It relates to the liquor store tenancy. Has there been a swept path analysis that shows a truck reversing in from the right of carriageway on the western side, reversing into the site so that it's reversing parallel to the northern edge of the liquor store tenancy near where the service stores are and the bin stores, and have it coming out? Because I don't see any swept paths that relate to collecting the bins from the liquor store tenancy. There's plenty of information relating to delivering to the car wash element and the dog wash element, but not to the liquor store. So that was my first question.
Yeah.
Has there been a swept path showing reversing in so that they can go straight line haul out? Because I don't see any information in this particular report that talks about collecting the bins from the liquor store and accommodating service and delivery movements. While I have no doubt that those activities are going to be undertaken outside, say, peak operating hours or either one of these proposed uses, I just would like to have a comfort level as to whether or not that option has been explored.
Yeah, so short answer for the first for services to the liquor store, the intention is that they would come in forward, they could use the open pavement area to do their quick delivery. They could either reverse slightly and then leave via the wash bay if it's clear, or potentially they could reverse and then go out the other, go out from the entry. So there's a few options there. Short answer is no, we didn't test that scenario, but there is enough room for that. And if needed, we can run those swept paths to show that.
Okay, so has there been, I guess to follow on from that, so the answer is no, that option hasn't been looked at in terms of the liquor store tenancy. What's the vertical clearance for the auto wash bay, or sorry, the self wash bays?
4 meters minimum.
Okay. because rubbish trucks, conventional rubbish trucks as depicted in the Shawmac report have a vertical clearance of 4.3. So this is why I'm also asking, because I'm not entirely convinced that the path through the wash bay is something that, never mind operationally, if there's a queue, I'm not overly concerned about that. There's certainly a number of them on site that can cater to the demand in the area. I'm more concerned about the fact that it's completely not viable whatsoever, considering the vertical profile. So, which is why I asked if an alternate scenario had actually been considered in terms of movements to and from the liquor store.
That height can be increased to 4.3 metres without any troubles. So that could easily be conditioned to accommodate that vehicle.
Okay, has a loading and service delivery management plan been done for the site to take into account the different options for these activities on the site, quite separate to the traffic report?
Brian, did you have a response, or who of your team would you like to respond to that?
I don't have a response to that one, to be honest. Tracy, would you be able to respond to this one better than I? Or not really?
Typically can you repeat the question again so I get it right?
Has a loading and service delivery management plan been undertaken for the site to address the different movements, the different types of activities for each of the elements? So the car wash, as you said, the car wash is generating a different type and quantity of waste.
Correct.
And the liquor store would be, the delivery protocols are entirely different as well.
Correct. Yes. Yes. So for a car wash, typically the deliveries are by a normal delivery van, not a big truck or like the 8.8 metre vehicles that Paul has given through. Typically, they would park in either wash bay 3 or wash bay 2, and they would, which is very common. Normally, car wash sites don't have dedicated delivery vehicles because deliveries may only be made once a month. They would park in a vacant wash bay, they would put their cone out, and they would wheel the goods into the rear of the plant room. For the liquor store, what we have agreed with the tenants is that the truck would come in and park in wash bay 2 and then be able to wheel their goods into the rear of the bottle shop near the bin area and come into their store area that way. They have deemed that as acceptable from their practice and what they have done on other sites in the past. So we work with them. They said they were happy with that. It works from our point of view. Their deliveries are also during the morning, during the weekdays when the car wash is also not very busy.
So the answer is no, that there hasn't been a formal plan done.
We didn't know that we had to do it. However, it has been considered in the design process, yes.
But it's not before us to consider, Tracy. I think that's the point that Ms. Herget is making. Did you have a comment?
No, like I don't have a comment to that effect because it basically wasn't something that was brought up to our attention before this panel, but it's not something that I didn't think could be conditioned. If that's something just to help to give, I guess, a bit more reassurance for the panel.
Thank you. Other questions from the panel?
Oh yeah,
members?
quick one. Oh, council officers, but I don't know if we have any.
Okay, we'll get to that in
That's
a
fine.
minute. I have a question regarding the tree. It's obviously been a consistent from the point of view of the WA Planning Commission at the point of subdivision, retention of the tree, and throughout the history of development of this site. So I'm still at a loss to understand why that wasn't considered and designed around. Never mind the fact that it might create difficulties, why alternate schemes were not put forward. It seems to be that you've reached a conclusion the tree can't be retained because of engineering issues, but you haven't had an arborist report, you haven't had a landscape architect investigate. I just wonder why you didn't do some alternates around that, given its significance in terms of the planning framework.
Well,
I think it was definitely looked at in the design of the property, the 1.2, the level between the two. and the conditions in the previous approval has some wording around, if possible, tree to be retained. So I think some wording in around that previous approval led us to an opinion of where it was. And I think the design that Tracy spent, she spent considerable amount of time looking at every angle that we could alter and change and move the car wash around that site. Like, while that's not visible to you guys in the stat meeting, there was significant time and effort looked to what we could do to support that tree.
Just to follow up on that, all the car wash bays are the same dimension. Obviously there are some individuals in community that have very big cars, but there are other individuals in community that have quite small cars. Did you look at a variety of wash bay dimensions to make allocations specifically perhaps for small bays, which would also perhaps enable you to retain the tree?
Trace, I'll put that one over to you.
Yeah. There's typically sizes. There are standard sizes that you have for car washes. And what I find is that a typical 8-metre long wash bay works for many. Now, we often see a lot of bigger cars on the road these days. So I've seen car washes where their wash bays are only 6 metres, but if you put a Ram 150 in there, they are hanging over the edge. And when
I understand that, Tracy, but we quite often see, even in car parking areas, signs for small bays only. So my question was, rather than typically, did you consider specifics for this site which would enable you to retain sufficient distance from that tree and put your retaining structure in place with alternate configurations and dimensions of the car bays?
The thing is that the retaining structure can't be in place with then complying with the tree structural root zone requirements. The thing is that when the overall subdivision was designed, whilst it may have had the intention of keeping that tree, by default, by making all of those internal roadways so low, it's automatically made it incredibly hard for any development on that site to keep that tree.
All right, thank you for that.
One more thing as well, is like with the local development plan that sits on top of this site as well, you actually see the tree within the landscaping strip within the 2 metre setback of that northern setback. So even at every stage that we've looked at, we've had to deal with inconsistencies in where the tree has been identified as being located and to be retained. Had that been reflected at a much earlier stage, we could have probably looked at it a little bit more, given a little bit more due regard, a lot more due regard, I should apologise. But it's just, I guess we're looking at it from the fact that even apart from all the functionality and engineering aspects as well, we're looking at the fact that the LDP showed that tree to be retained within a 2 metre landscaping strip north, just south of the boundary. We've got the approval that shows it a little bit further south, but not in its accurate location.
I understand that from your presentation. Thank you very much. If there are no further questions of the presenters from any of the panel members, then we will invite questions of the officers from the city. And we'll start again with panel members on screen. Councillor Winmar? We've lost your visual, I think. There you are. Did you have questions of the city officers, Councillor Winmar?
No questions from me.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rouse, did you have questions of the city officers?
No, nothing at this stage, but
okay, I can come back to you. Yeah. Okay, panel members in the room. Member Herger.
Just a quick one to the officers. In terms of commercial waste collection, does the city of Kwinana consider curbside collection as an option for private commercial collection of waste? Or would they prefer to see on-site bin stores and on-site collection?
The city would prefer to see on-site bin collection, but in this case, as the access road to the west is on private land, that collection would be fine, but I don't think the city would entertain a collection from Albina or Avenue or Collison Street.
That's right. The preference for commercial development is that it's taken care of by the proponent as part of the private contractor.
Okay, so they would consider line haul collection along this right of carriageway along the western boundary, rather than going in on the site with waste management private waste management trucks.
Do you mean by this, we would consider that for private contractors, or?
Is that something that the city would be open to, collecting rubbish from the de facto verge? I guess it's not a public road, so.
Servicing of commercial developments by the city is not something that we are really wanting to do into the future. So no, it would be a private contractor regardless of whether it's on site or in that easement area.
No, that wasn't my question. My question was, would the city consider curbside collection along this right of carriageway rather than collection on site? Would they be open to that particular option in the context of waste management on the site?
Not with the city's waste contractor, no.
That wasn't my question. I'm not, I'm aware of that. What I'm saying is there's two options. You can either collect on site through the engagement of a private contractor, or you can collect offsite along the western boundary of this particular property, still on private property as it stands. Would the city consider that option, that is a potential option to collect rubbish along the western boundary in a line haul manner in terms of the curbs, the bins just lined up one next to one another as they do in residential areas? I'm aware that the city doesn't collect commercial waste.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, as a private contractor, yes, that's what we've recommended the waste management plan to confirm those details. But yes, that's certainly an option to have the collection from the internal road there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other panel members, Member Hyam.
Thank you. Did the city officers have discussions with the applicants about the retention of the tree through the design process?
Yes, it was brought up in the design review. I understand it was one of the recommendations from the design review to retain that tree, and that's where it came up when the city shared that design review and worked through those issues.
So I presume then the city made it clear that they wanted the tree to be retained.
At the time, I think the applicant provided their response to the design review, which was similar to what their response has been at this point, and then it's closer to the point of the recommendation where the officer has taken that response, considered it, and then formed the view of the recommendation that we still want the tree to be retained.
Thank you.
Just to follow on from that, is having heard from the applicant today about different levels and so on and so forth, did the officer who prepared the report take those matters into consideration when recommending condition 5 for retention of the tree? Is it the city's view that it is still possible for land uses of this nature and in this location to function and retain the tree?
Yes, we did consider that, and condition 6 requires or suggests providing a redesign of certain elements to ensure that the protection of the tree can be made. In terms of the levels around the tree are actually due right from back at the subdivision stage, where the tree was identified as a feature to be retained and was retained through the condition of subdivision, and that's why we see the levels that we see today. The footpath has a sort of step over and then drops down to retain that sort of root zone, and that does extend into the lot. So, and the LDP clearly shows the tree to be retained. So they're all, I suppose, from our point of view, constraints on the site that do need to be considered. in the design. We think condition 6, provides enough flexibility, but also certainty to the applicant that, look, the overall development is supported, is approved, but we do need to do some work around retaining that tree, and if that impacts on the vacuum bays, well, so be it, but that can be worked out through the clearance of that condition.
Okay, thank you. And would in this situation it normally be the case that the city might require an applicant, for instance, to provide an arborist report or some other report on how best to retain the tree and enable it to survive through the process of construction and the function of the development?
Yes, that can be part of the process, certainly, but that is sort of linked to the Australian standards as well that are referred to in the recommended condition.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Any further questions of the city officers of Lachlan, Asher or Brett? Nothing further? Okay. Thank you for your responses. We will therefore return to the item. We have an officer's report which recommends to us that we approve this item, accept it as motor vehicle wash compatible with the city's zoning table and approve with a series of conditions and advice notes. So I'm seeking a mover, please, for that as the substantive motion. Is there a mover? If there is no mover or seconder, then we would perhaps at this point seek an alternate. Does any member have an alternate that they would wish to put forward? Member Hyam has an alternate, which I think is an alternate recommendation for deferral.
Yes, correct. And I might need to massage the wording a bit, but I'd...
You want to outline it, then
Yes.
we will seek a seconder as it's
Okay.
an alternate motion.
So the first part would be still to accept the application as appropriate for consideration, and then the second part is to defer the DAP application as per the wording there for a period of up to 60 days for reconsideration of the design to accommodate the tree, subject to an arborist report and further landscape advice. And secondly, to further consider the design to accommodate waste collection and delivery of goods.
Okay, thank you. And that's for a period of up to 60 days. And obviously to allow for perhaps the city to assess
Yes.
the redesign and report back
Yes.
to the DAP.
Yes.
All right. Do I have a seconder, please, for that, as Member Hergert seconds it? Would you therefore like to speak to it?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, there is nothing wrong with the use itself. I fully support the use. I have some concerns, I suppose, around whether or not it is a landmark development, although having looked at the site and its location, I'm not sure that a landmark building is necessary in that location anyway. But I am concerned that there doesn't appear to be, and I apologise if I'm entirely wrong, but there doesn't appear to have been a serious consideration of trying to retain the tree in this design. It's quite a impressive tree, and going back to the subdivision and the LDP, quite clearly this tree was meant to be retained. So I am hoping that the applicant will take on board that and look at a redesign. And the other aspect in looking at this is also to look at the waste collection and delivery of goods, I think there is some conflict of movement there that really concerns me and I think needs to be addressed. I'm not sure that it's been thought through that well. So they're my reasons, Chair.
Thank you very much. Member Huggett, a seconder.
I concur with Member Hyam. I think that it's almost there, but I don't have the comfort level that I should have in terms of how these movements, these vehicle movements larger than a B99 are going to be accommodated, particularly for the liquor store tenancy. I'm not concerned about the queuing to and out of the car wash bays, the dog wash, the vacuuming, you know, we've all used them, etc. I do have significant concerns as to how that southern tenancy is going to be catered to in terms of regular deliveries, servicing, contractors, etc. for vehicles bigger than a B99, particularly waste management. My understanding is a waste management plan, it was one of the original conditions of the report. So that needs to be explored. And I think that consideration of alternate ways of getting in and out via that southern driveway to service a liquor store tenancy are paramount, because there's, I'm concerned there's too much potential for conflict between the competing uses on the site. And hopefully those are issues that can be worked out in the context of revisiting how the site is laid out.
Thank you, Member Herget. Other speakers for or against the motion to defer? Councillor Rouse?
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member. Yeah, I totally agree with the mover and seconder there. For me, there's too many inconsistencies and assumptions being made. It's a significant tree that should be retained and has always been identified as being retained in the LDP and subdivision process. So reconsideration of design to accommodate that tree should be made, as well as the waste and delivery management plan, just to make sure that everything can be accommodated on site. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rouse. Councillor Winmar, would you like to speak to or for the motion?
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member. I do also concur with Presiding Member Hyam's recommendations in relation to the planning, that the tree was there was no regard for the retention of the tree in the planning phase, and I think there should be considerations and alternatives should be put forward. So I agree with that. Member Hackett, I also agree with and concur with your comments around the flow and the interaction of all the activity that will be in that area. As Kwinana is one of the fastest growing areas in Australia, the area and the use of these types of facilities is going to be on the increase, and the way that we manage the movement around these facilities is a key and integral part of the flow of the facility. So I agree and concur that with the deferral and the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winmar. I will briefly speak to it. I concur with the previous speakers. I think there is no issue from the point of view of land uses per se in this location. And in a general sense, the proposal complies with much of the planning framework, but the design seems to have jumped to the conclusion that the tree can go. However, I take an opposing view that I think the tree has been significant enough that it has been identified through the planning framework. Whether it's a metre here or a metre there in terms of the trunk location, the fact is the tree itself has been consistently identified as of significance, both to the area from a community, a social, a landmark point of view. The design review panel did actually say that they didn't feel that the architecture itself was of a landmark quality. I think, the retention of the tree, a significant mature tree, actually helps to create some of that landmark, and particularly when retained in that location at the front of the development. So I would like to see the redesigns consider that, and to have the technical supporting information to substantiate that can be the case, and retained through construction, etc. And it might mean some compromises in the design, but I think it is warranted given the history of the planning framework. So I support the motion for deferral as moved and seconded. I'll return to Member Hyam as
No further
mover.
comment.
We will therefore put the motion to defer as outlined to the vote. Those in favour? That's a unanimous decision. Thank you very much. That closes that particular item on our agenda. We thank those presenters for that. You're free to leave. We will then invite the other applicants into the room for the rest of our meeting. Okay. Are they just online, I gather? So we'll just wait a minute while the current room is emptied, and then we'll get back to the meeting shortly. It's actually quite warm in here now.
It is now, isn't it?
Glowing.
Oh, that's natural, isn't it?
It's quite warm in here now.
Warm enough, Ash?
Yeah. All right. Have we got our applicants for the second item? I've got a visual of them. Yes, there they are. Hello. So we don't have any presentation requests for Lot 3, number 46 Mears Avenue, Kwinana Town Centre for the childcare application. However, we do have George Hadge-Gabriel and Sam Bowers from Row Group who are able to answer questions. They've joined us online. Welcome. So I'll just go around the table again, virtually and otherwise, to see if there are questions that the panel members wish to put to the applicant's representative. Councillor Winmar, did you have questions for the applicant?
No further questions at this stage. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Winmar. Councillor Rouse, did you have questions of the applicant?
No, nothing from me at this stage. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Members in the room. Member Hergott has questions.
Just a couple of questions. Just need some clarification. I understand this is it's infill development, brownfield on an existing piece of land with existing built form on it. Can you confirm that the proposed childcare center, like the new built form, is not gonna take away from any existing car parking?
Sam or George, would you like to respond?
No, yeah, thank you for the question. No, it won't take any of the existing car parking in the area. There is a car park, I believe, to the south. Yeah, sorry, there's an existing car park, but there's also a new proposed car park as part of the development, which will service the operations.
Okay, thank you. Just back to standard, I don't know if your traffic consultant is here. How are service vehicles and deliveries going to be accommodated on the site? Has there been a loading service and delivery management plan done for this? The reason I ask is because the sweat path, and I appreciate that this is it's a new build on an existing site with obviously with the crossover and circulation constraints and the parking constraints in place. And there needs to be a workaround, and that needs to be taken into account. And that has been in the terms of the sweat path. Just curious in terms of the waste management, how that's going to be accommodated, because there'll have to be a separate bin store for this particular development. So how is that going to be accommodated? How are deliveries going to be accommodated in terms of like food deliveries, other kinds of consumable goods that a childcare center might actually utilize? Has that been considered as part of the planning application? I looked through the traffic report, it wasn't really addressed directly. It's just in the context of it's quite a constrained sort of area to maneuver in. So I just wanted to have some sort of comfort level in terms of those types of movements.
So I think, so we have outlined a couple of loading zones on the plans. So suspect they'll be used for the loading, I guess, of the bin stores and the traffic movements of the cars more generally. But I do note there is a condition regarding an updated waste management plan. So in that condition, we will, update the existing lodged WMP to address the DAPs and the city's queries.
So where are the loading zones for the childcare on the drawings?
There's one, on the south, next to the proposed bin store.
Oh, okay, yep,
Area.
yep.
And then I believe there is one also next to the disabled parking bay. Oh, sorry, it's just the one next to the bin store.
All right, so that service bay, that'll accommodate a B99 or like a van type of thing. I guess I just wanted to have some comfort level how bigger trucks are going to be handled. So if there's a food delivery, for example, that's a Coles truck, and a Coles truck can range somewhere between 8 and 14 meters. That's I guess my question. Are they going to just cone off some bays? Because clearly those deliveries will likely be done outside of peak demand hours for pickup drop off. I guess these questions would probably be better directed to the traffic consultant. They're not present, so.
Yeah, I suspect it'll just be we'll direct these questions to the traffic consultant, and I guess they'll be addressed as part of the updated waste management plan, and how the traffic movements operate, and possibly in an updated traffic report.
Okay. I was referring to loading and delivery movements, not so much the waste movement. That's presumably will be addressed as part of the updated WMP.
Yeah. Well, I guess there is the main car park area does provide for, and unfortunately I don't have a plan of the overall site, but there is a sort of loop system that runs through the main car park area. So the trucks can come up and loop around, do their deliveries and continue on. And as you say, that would be outside of the normal peak operating hours.
All right, we might refer that question further to the city as well when we get to that point. Did you have other questions?
No, that's all.
All right. Member Hyam, any questions? No? I just had a very quick one. You obviously had a look at the conditions. You didn't request any changes to them. I take it from that you are satisfied with the conditions as they're currently worded.
Yes, that's correct. We have consulted with the city as well, and we've had a fair bit of interaction with the city, and are comfortable with all of the conditions.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you very much. If panel members have no further questions of the presenters, then we will refer back to the city officers, to Lachlan, Asher and Brett. Councillor Winmar, did you have any questions of the city officers?
Yeah, no further questions, only that we'll look forward to the upgraded WMP when it comes through.
Yeah.
Just to accommodate those issues already been highlighted. Thank you for that, member.
Thank you. Councillor Rouse, did you have any questions of your officers?
No, nothing from me, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Member Hergert, did you wish to put that question to the city officers?
What a condition.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. I would just seek confirmation from the city officers that the conversations around service and delivery management are covered by the conditions of approval relating to Member Hergert's questions of the applicant just then. Are you confident that the conditions as worded will provide you with sufficient information to satisfy you?
Yes. Yeah.
And is that just to do with the waste management, or are there other conditions that you would identify that deal with those matters of service and delivery?
So there's the waste management, which is explicitly about the waste processing on site. But we also have another condition, which is the access, circulation and parking strategy, which is primarily for visitors to the site, but it can also include services as well. It's all about trying to identify which is the best way and using whatever line marking or signage or operational methods to ensure that we reduce any conflict.
Right, okay. Does that satisfy what you're requiring?
No, I want a condition loaded.
Would you like to ask how?
Okay, that particular condition, I think, relates mainly for visitors to the site, pickup, drop off, potentially staff, also just general, people trying to park their cars on the overall site, because bearing in mind, this is obviously a redevelopment of a certain part of the site, brownfields, however you want to refer to it. And to minimize confusion, maximize safety, minimize double backing of cars, so people have information at their disposal when they're entering the site where they're meant to park and where they're not meant to park. My concerns relate to regular vehicles and how they're going to load and unload and deliver and service the childcare center on a regular basis. I'm not suggesting it's 100 times a day, but it will happen on a regular basis, be it weekly, daily, bi-weekly. Are there a set of protocols that sit quite outside the signage and line marking? Presumably, if a truck is delivering food to the childcare center, they know perfectly well where it is, and they're not really going to be able to park in parking bays because their vehicles will be too large. I'm just not confident that that particular condition will actually address those concerns, and I would prefer to condition a separate deliverable that deals specifically with those movement network elements associated with the proposal.
So perhaps to the city, in response to that, would there be some preferable wording, or is it an update to TIS, or how would you seek to respond to Member Hergert's question?
Waste management plan. Oh yeah, there was. I think there has been a recent DAP decision on a childcare centre on Charing in the town centre that had a similar condition. So yeah, I mean,
we can find the wording for that if you'd like. Just a minute.
Sorry, we've got really poor sound quality for you. It sounds as though there's some radio interference behind your audio. So could you try and repeat that?
We don't have wording on hand, but we're just quickly looking at, I think this issue was raised with a previous childcare centre that was put towards that. And we'll find the wording for that condition right now if you'd like.
Thank you.
In any case, if it's called, it is a particular type of management plan, loading and delivery management plan, we can have a similar condition to just that it be prepared and approved by the city's satisfaction.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think that will suffice. Thank you very much for that. I'm sorry about the audio. Were there any further questions of the city officers at this point? If not, we'll move to the item.
Can I just ask one question?
Please do, Councillor Rouse.
In relation to the new parking bays that are created, I noticed quite a few of those other businesses around have reserved parking signage painted on the car parks. Is that something that's being considered for this centre?
That would be contained within the circulation and parking strategy. It is considered that there'll probably need to be a couple of drop-off and pick-up bays assigned purely to the childcare centre for those peak periods. But the hope is that the main parking associated with the developments would be contained to the rear with the staff parking. So.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I think I got that.
Okay, if there are no further questions of the city officers, we will refer to the item. And we have a responsible authority recommendation to accept this as the childcare centre, which is compatible with the objectives and zoning, and approve according to a number of conditions and advice notes. So I'm seeking a mover, please, for that as the substantive motion. Councillor Winmar moves. Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Rouse. Thank you very much. Councillor Winmar, as mover, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you very much, presiding member. It's pleasing to see that the precinct has been vacant for a while, and it's good to see that the applicant has a proposal that will bring people towards the city centre. And I agree that there's enough parking there, and I think that'll bring more vibrancy to the area. Appreciate the concerns that were in there, but happy to accept and approve this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Rouse, as seconder, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, please. This is an infill site, and it's the last remaining lot within the development there. So it's pleasing that that it's being finished off in an appropriate way. It's appropriately located, appropriate use of the land. There's going to be no noise, and the built form is in keeping with the surrounding tenancies. There's going to be no conflict with staff and public parking. The staff parking's allocated at the back, which is pleasing to see, so there's plenty available there. Although new car parking bays will be created, knowing the area very well, I'm sure there'll be some parking issues. So if some of those pick-up and drop-off bays can be allocated specifically to the childcare centre, that would be to help alleviate the problems in the afternoon, especially. But these parking problems, although they might create some problems within the complex itself, they won't impact the public road network, Mears Avenue and Challenger Avenue. So it's more of a management issue as opposed to that. So happy to support the development.
Thank you very much. Panel members in the room, other speakers. Member Hyam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I'm more than happy to support this proposal. It's we know it's a use not listed, but it's generally consistent with Town Planning Scheme number 3 and the master plan. It's well located use, close to a number of schools, but within a commercial area. So that makes it, I think, good in that it minimises the impact on the amenity of nearby residential properties. I understand the concerns of the objector. However, this land or this site was always going to be developed as a commercial site. So I think that expectation should have been there, or at least would be there. Also, of course, the childcare centre traffic is concentrated mostly in the morning and a little bit of concentration in the evening, although it's more spread out in the evening hours. The design review panel identified a number of areas for improvement. The applicant's made changes, and to the point where it's now supported by the design reviewer. In terms of the traffic, I agree with the comments that have already been made. I think there is going to be good circulation or within the site, which probably won't affect the streets. Although I agree with some of the previous questioning around the need for some explicit service management plan, but I'll leave that wording to one of the other members. I'm sure we'll raise that. So,
All right, thank you. Member Hoggett.
I concur with the other members who've already spoken. It's an appropriate location, particularly from an access perspective to the medium to high order road network. It's a good use of infill development in terms of profile to the existing access to the site. There's more than enough parking to cater to the pickup drop-off activities morning and afternoon, and to turnover in staff and staff parking generally. I'm no concerns about the traffic generated. By and large, it'll be generally pass and trade in the morning on the way to work or on the way back from dropping to school, etc., and the reverse in the afternoon. So I fully support the application. When do I do that?
If you would like to move that amendment. That
I'd like to move an additional condition.
Would it assist if we read out the wording that was used last time that the city were referring to?
It would indeed, if you have it, Claire. Thank you.
A loading, servicing and delivery management plan is to be prepared to the satisfaction of the City of Kwinana prior to occupancy and thereafter implemented.
Yep.
Very good. Did members online hear that clearly enough? Yep. Okay, so that's moved by Member Herget. I'm happy to second that. Did you wish to speak further to it?
I've spoken to it.
I likewise don't wish to say anything further. Did any other speakers wish to speak on that amending motion? Let's put the amending motion only to the vote. Those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Did you wish to say anything more about the substantive? Okay, thank you. I will just briefly speak to the motion. I think that it's generally in keeping with the planning framework, and whilst it is a use not listed, I've considered it in the context of whether it should undermine the viability of other development in the area, or the predominant uses, but I don't find that to be the case. In fact, I find it actually to support those uses and to service potentially a wider walkable residential catchment, the school catchment, and also to provide childcare for those in employment in the centre. So I actually think it's a very good location. I do note that the noise management has not just looked at noise emitted from the centre, but it's actually looked at the impact of noise from the centre on the children, which I think is very good, and I'm satisfied with the outcome of that. It very much follows the line of the master plan in terms of its development typology and its style and materiality, generally supported by the design review panel. So I think those technical documents which are to be provided or updated through the conditions will appropriately provide for the implementation moving forward, and I'm very happy to support the application with the amendment that we have just supported. So I think as I'm the last speaker to speak once, I'll refer back to Councillor Winmar as the mover to have a right of reply and close debate.
Yeah, look, thank you very much, Presiding Member. Agree with all those comments and the extra conditions put on with the amendment. Thank you very much for that, and especially in relation to that management. Definitely echo the sentiments of Councillor Rouse in that it now completes the development for that area, and the use is appropriate, and it's going to open up access for workers in the shopping centre and the shopping precinct and all those businesses that are around there. It's going to be able to give them more flexibility and access to be able to have child care and close proximity. No problems with the traffic movement that's going to be around there. I think after time that is going to be commonplace and normal with the normal traffic flow. And I do agree that the purpose is an appropriate one. And just on closing, thank you very much for the sentiments around supporting the proposal, and more than happy for once it becomes into operation as soon as practical of service to the community.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll now put the matter to the vote. Those in favour? That's a unanimous decision. Thank you. Just closing out the agenda, we have no Form 2 applications today and no Section 31 applications today. As far as other business is concerned, for this DAP, there are some matters before SAT at the moment. Only one for the City of Kwinana, Alton Road, Casuarina for extractive industry. And with that, I would like to thank Councillor Rouse and Councillor Winmar, thank the other panel members in the room, city staff for being available for both items and the applicant for their presentation, Secretariat for keeping us running. Draw the agenda to a close at